Thank you all for viewing this training. My name is Tamika Robinson, and I'm the Director of Communications for Mothering Justice. Mothering Justice is a statewide organization dedicated to advocating on behalf of women and working families. Our main purpose is to change lawmaking that would otherwise endorse economic inequality. At the same time, we want to empower women to get involved and become the change they want to see locally, statewide, and federally. We're big on activities that will facilitate our mama movement, which leads us to this training series. Next to me is Tamika Ramsey, also Tamika, yes, a member of Mothering Justice and a phenomenal organizer within her own community. She'll be sharing her knowledge as a supplement to this live stream. This particular lesson will focus on disputing a couple of myths that led voters to elect against their best interests. Let's get started. And remember, if you have any questions, they'll be answered directly through a private message following this webinar. Myth, please. Raising the minimum wage for the uneducated and unmotivated. Now, I just want to share a personal story. I myself was employed within a minimum wage-based position while working at Macy's. And as a part-time employee, my base salary was $7 an hour. And I had to make up the difference to sustain a livable wage based on commission. Now, once I went full-time, I got an extra $1 an hour. So I was a newly graduated college student. I had a bachelor's degree, and my decision for wanting to be employed with Macy's was because my background was creative, and I wanted to try to use the position that I had acquired as a pathway or a leeway into going into the visual display department within Macy's. And that didn't end up working out for me. So they basically laid off a bunch of people, and I was kind of forced into staying into this minimum wage position. Now, when the holidays would come around, I was able to make up the difference of the minimum wage and actually sustain more of an income where I was able to pay for my rent, pay for groceries, pay my car note. But then I don't know how many of you that are viewing right now are in or were in a similar position where you had a base salary and then you had a commission. So once people started to return items that they didn't want for Christmas, that would negatively hit my commission, which would also negatively hit my base salary. So if enough things were returned, sometimes I was getting a check that was only $50 to $75. So luckily I was with my then boyfriend, now husband, who was able to make up the difference. But when those checks happened to me, we would struggle. So I just want to make sure everyone is very aware that a lot of people who are advocating for an increase aren't high school students, but adults who are trying to sustain a livable income like I was. And a large portion of those workers are parents trying to provide an economically stable household for themselves and their loved ones. A raise for minimum wage earners will put more money in more families' pockets, which will be spent on goods and services, stimulating economic growth locally and federally. And one of our coalition partners, Rock United, aligns workers, employers, and consumers to improve wages and working conditions within the restaurant industry. And they actually have a petition that supports increasing the minimum wage, and a link will be provided following this broadcast, so you can immediately respond to a call to action and add your name to this petition that definitely is needed and will be shared when we have reached enough petition signatures. So please look out for that link and click on it. It's very simple. You just add your name, hit submit, and that's all you have to do. So once again, any unanswered questions will be responded to through a private message if needed. If it's more of a basic baseline question, then a response will be posted in the discussion for this event at the conclusion.
So I have a quick question.
Sure.
So we hear that most minimum wage earners are high school students and not two household working families.
Right.
Is that true?
Absolutely not. Like I stated, when I was dealing with a minimum wage based position, I had graduated from college. I was very happy to have acquired my bachelor's degree, and I was an adult. I was, creating a life with my then boyfriend, now husband, and we have a daughter together. So this is definitely a myth that needs to be dispelled because it's untrue. And because people tend to feed into this myth, they tend to vote against their best interests. So I just want to make sure that anyone out there who is experiencing trying to make ends meet within a minimum wage position, Mothering Justice is definitely one of those organizations that is hearing your plights, and we're advocating on your behalf because a lot of us have experienced the same things a lot of you that are viewing have as well. So we come from a place of experience.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So the next myth. Welfare enables recipients to be unproductive, which leads them to abuse the system. Now, Tamika will chime in and quickly share her personal experience with government assistance, and she's definitely going to share some personal information, but Tamika is one of those people where she understands that coming from a place of understanding makes her more relatable, and it ends happily.
Yes, very so much so. So hi, my name is Tamika. I'm the other Tamika.
With a TA.
TA. I was pregnant at the age of 16. I had my first child, who is now 21, and I was still in high school. I was a junior in high school. So I was on welfare for the first 2 years of his life. 1 year, because I was underage, I was on my mother's case. When I got old enough, when I turned 18, I was on my own case. And I received cash assistance and food stamps. Once I turned 18 and graduated high school, I went to college, and I worked really hard, and I didn't receive any public assistance. Off and on, I have received food stamps maybe over the course of my son's life, about 2 or 3 years. Excuse me. But I went on and worked at a group home. I worked 100 hours a week so that my son and I could have a better future. I then went and got my associates and my bachelor's. I worked a little bit harder and got my master's degree. And I have not been on public assistance, nor have I needed it for a very long time. However, when I needed it, it was there, and it helped to provide a cushion in order for me to build up a better life for my son, because without food stamps, I don't think I could have made it for me and my son being a single mother at the age of 17 years old. So I think having welfare, people look at it as a negative connotation, but it's a safety net, especially when the economy sunk and people who have worked their entire lives lost their jobs. They have paid into this system for a very long time thinking they would never need it. And then when they did, it was there. Just imagine if people lost their jobs on the levels in which they did in 2007 and 2008 without any safety nets, without any welfare, without any cash assistance and food stamps. A lot of people would have been more hurt than what they really were. And we saw people losing their homes. We saw families breaking up because people had to ship out families to live with other family members because they couldn't afford their homes. We saw some families just completely devastated. And welfare is a stepping stone to help people get their footing back. There is no way that people can live off of welfare and be okay. They don't provide enough money. So people thinking that is just out of line. But welfare is a safety net. It is if you fall, even though you are trying really hard to move yourself forward. So I appreciate the fact that I was able to get the public assistance. I appreciate the fact that I don't need it, but I also appreciate the fact that if something happens, that I know it's there.
Right, exactly. I also have a question for you too.
Yes.
So as a woman who was able to pick up the pieces
Mm-hmm.
and reassimilate her life and provide a future for her children, what would you suggest to any mothers out there, any parents out there who are kind of using government assistance at this time as what you said, a stepping stone to help them get to a more financially stable place?
The first thing I would say is to let people know that you are not less of a person because you need help.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone needs help. So it's okay to ask for it. And it is okay to demand respect when you go into the DHHS office. And it's okay to also give respect when you're working with your case managers. I understand that right now in the state of Michigan, some of our caseworkers for the Department of Health and Human Services have over 800 families.
Wow.
So they're dealing with a lot. And sometimes inputting in numbers, numbers get transposed,
Right.
people get sick, they're human too.
Right.
So sometimes we fall in between the cracks. But just knowing that to be patient, but just to know how to advocate for yourself, because self-advocating is very important.
Definitely. And Mothering Justice is definitely for self-advocating. We're definitely for empowering women
Mm-hmm.
to feel as though that they can stand up for themselves. And there's nothing wrong with making sure that you're covered, your family is covered, and you're treated with respect.
Mm-hmm.
So as a woman who in another life was a social worker herself, is there anything that you feel like should have been more accommodating as far as being able to properly assist women and their families while going through the government assistance process? As far as did you feel like the paperwork process was easy? Did the state make it difficult for women or families to receive state assistance? Can you just share a little bit more, especially from your background?
Yes, I think some of our Department of Health and Human Service case managers, they have limited things that they can do.
Mm-hmm.
Their main job is to make sure that they're inputting your information and paperwork into a system that then calculates everything.
Right.
They don't calculate anything.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, like I said, people get tired, people get sick, people transpose information. And the number of calls they get, the number of people who walk into the office, the number of appointments that they have can sometimes be overwhelming. But this is not an open door for them to get things wrong and to cut you off.
Right.
But just to know that they are human also. But just to know that we need to advocate for ourselves. As much money as they're giving to corporate sponsors for us welfare, they can be putting that money into the people who actually pay the taxes.
Okay.
So the fact that some corporations pay their people little money so that they need to get Medicaid instead of providing it themselves takes away from when people need it. And they can put that money into the system in order to hire more people, in order to make sure that the families are being served in a correct and timely manner.
Right, exactly. Now, I am aware of a personal story of yours that kind of led you down a different path and guided you into pursuing your master's degree in public administration. So I don't know if you want to share that experience with one of your cases with a woman who was trying to better herself and utilizing government assistance as a stepping stone.
So I was a caseworker for a nonprofit who provided human services in Pontiac. I had a client who came in to get assistance with food and a shut-off notice. And I told her she was a single mom. She was working a minimum wage job. And I said, you're not going to be able to make it making this little bit of money with your children. So I said, let's get you trained.
Right.
So she got training. She came on time. She put in the work that she needed. She got a better job. She interviewed. And so she got a job and she was doing training. And she came into my office maybe about 3 weeks later, very upset. And she cussed at me and I was confused. I'm like, what's wrong? And she said, I got a better job and they took my Section 8 away. So now I have to pay more rent. They decreased my food stamps. So now I have to pay more food. And she was then making less money than she was before the assistance.
And that was an awakening moment for you, realizing that the system that you were trained to uphold and then enforce out of kindness, out of a place of empathy, you realized that, hey, the system is kind of flawed because obviously the tools that you were told to give this young woman was a detriment to her livelihood.
Yeah, it's the policies. The policies don't allow for us to have any cushion. As soon as you better your life just a little bit,
Right.
then the policy is to take everything away when people need a month or so. Because one of the first things we learned is the first couple of weeks on your job, you get a lot of training. And then after that, you get your regular set of hours.
Your benefits. Yep.
But if DHS is only looking at your first month and they see that you're working 40 hours because you're getting trained, then they base everything off of that. Yes.
Yeah. I feel like the policy, there's a lot of assumptions being put in place and not a perspective from reality for the people who are receiving this government aid.
Yes, and it's probably because the people who are making the policies have never had to use it.
Right.
So they don't know.
Or don't even know anyone who's had to use it.
Right. So they don't understand that employers train you full time and then give you a part-time schedule.
Yeah. So what would your solution have been? I mean, being a person who is definitely very in depth in public policy and public administration, what would your solution have been, say you were in the power, in the position to change policy in that way?
So my policy fix for this is to allow at least 6 weeks of income to come in before you change anything. So not look at the first 4 weeks because training happens, but to look at it over a 6-week period and then average it out from there.
Okay. Yeah, and we definitely agree. Like you have mentioned a couple of times, government assistance for Americans is a stepping stone. It's to help those who need the help get to a place of stability. And I just want to share that government assistance is extremely effective at helping people get out of and stay out of, like you yourself, stay out of poverty. So conservative groups like the Cato Institute try to convince the public that because of increasing demand for programs such as food stamps, welfare has failed. In fact, the economic change done by the Great Recession is the cause of rising food stamp participants. So like you were sharing, a lot of people who feel as though they have a life set for themselves, they have a reliable income, and then the unexpected happens. And then people are having to tap into their savings. And then when that runs out and they still haven't found anything to supplement the lifestyle that they had before, that's when a lot of people are relying on government assistance or SNAP or, also known as food stamps, to help them get back on their feet. And that takes time, just like it takes time to go to school, be educated, to get a degree or a trade or a certification, and then you have to put in the work at your new position to try to build a career for yourself, and then you have to build up a savings. That all takes time. So in order to help people get back to the place that they were, you need to give them time. So providing a safety net through government assistance makes our country stronger. And it's time for Americans to stop spreading untrue and damaging rumors, decrying the very programs that are creating a brighter future for our nation's most vulnerable. It's time for politicians to stop trying to cut meager benefits to struggling families, because there are millions of people out there who truly need these programs to help them get back on their feet. That's the whole point of the program. That's why it's called government assistance. It's supposed to assist, not to further detriment someone's life. And you never know, someday it might be one of you, or it could be me. So we need to make sure that we're practicing more empathy and not assuming that those who need assistance are just lazy, because it's very, very untrue, and it's just untrue. So I'd like to thank everyone for viewing this entire broadcast. I also really want to thank Tamika.
Thank you for having me.
TA, I'm T.O., for being a dedicated member and her willingness to participate tonight, because she has a family, but she understands that the knowledge that she has will be valuable for the next person, because at some point she didn't know it. So you have to share in order to increase the knowledge base. And if you're interested in learning how you can become a part of the Mama movement, please visit our official website at www.motherinjustice.org. And you can also take that action that I mentioned earlier about the petition that will give all laborers one fair wage, because every worker deserves to make a livable income. Immediately following this live feed, a link to the petition will be posted. Have a good night, everyone, and we'll see you next month for our next installment of the series.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.